Hey everyone, welcome back to 2Dates Review. I'm Caleb.
I'm Hannah, and we are giving you our very spoiler-filled review of Avengers Endgame. So if you haven't seen it, save it, go watch the movie, good luck finding some showtimes, and then come back. Because we can't really do a non-spoiler one, because it would basically just be us telling you to go see the movie, and that's it. So we're going to dive in, kind of do our likes, dislikes, maybe discuss a little fan theories at the end. Some of them aren't great. So we've seen it 3 times. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Our neighbors are being very loud out there. We've had some time to digest. So we've had some time to digest and really, kind of think about all the things that happen. And then you miss things, because our Thursday night, we had a rowdy theater, which was, kind of fun to be in. So you kind of miss certain dialogue parts because everybody's like screaming and yelling, and it's like, shh, I'm trying to listen. So seeing it the second and third time definitely kind of helped. Although the Friday night was also a little rowdy. The Saturday afternoon, people were just like, whatever.
Probably because they've already seen it multiple times.
Maybe. So likes.
There's definitely a lot of there's definitely a lot of things to like about this movie. I also had quite a few things that I disliked about it as well. I guess a more broader thing was I thought the acting was really well done in this movie, especially what comes to mind is the beginning of the movie, where Tony just got back to the facility after being saved by Captain Marvel, and Cap is his typical self, did he give any clues, we need to make a plan, and Iron Man's no, there's no plan, I just got I didn't even fight him, it was a slaughter, we're not winning this, it's over. And I really liked that little struggle and conflict, because Cap was hopeful and Iron Man was no, we're done. And he was angry at Cap.
Yeah, and it kind of drew back to Civil War. There was actually a lot of callbacks in this movie. A lot. So, we didn't go back and watch them all. We went back, watched the first phase, watched Age of Ultron, and then Captain Marvel, Infinity War, But we didn't go back and watch everything. There was a lot of callbacks. But anyway.
So that was really a scene that I enjoyed, because it had so much tension and conflict in it, because, like she said, it was their first reunion since the Civil War, and Iron Man was I told you this was coming, nobody believed me, I was trying to prepare, yes, I created Ultron, but I thought that was the best course of action to protect us from what was coming, and everyone, Cap included, was no, this isn't, we don't need this, blah, 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 we'll win together. And he's no, I told you we would lose, and we did. And so, and all the reunions there, we had Raccoon and
Nebula,
Raccoon.
Just some random
Rocket and Nebula, as well as, Tony and Pepper and all that. I really liked that initial, it wasn't the opening scene, but I really liked that scene overall. And then Tony saying, I lost the kid, and Steve no, we lost. I tried to stop him too and couldn't.
Yeah. I will just briefly say the opening scene, I was surprised we saw it 3 times. Every time people were surprised that Hawkeye's family got dusted. And I just couldn't believe that people were surprised by that.
Even the very first time, I was okay, right when it came on, I was they're going to show his family disappearing.
Yeah, exactly. And then it happened, and our whole every time everybody's oh, and I was why are you surprised by this? That's why he becomes Ronin.
When everybody has a 1 out of 2 chance to survive, Hawkeye was very unlucky, because he had a family of 5, and he was the only one.
Yeah, the dog too.
Yeah. And then I do I'll kind of voyage on to a dislike. I don't like time travel. I don't like that. The only time travel, there's 2 time travel instances that I've liked in movie TV history.
Back to the Future. Oh.
Well, yeah, but that was different. Would be X-Men Days of Future Past, I do really like that. I liked how they did it, even though it erased like the original trilogy. But that was one of my favorite X-Men movie. I really liked how they handled that. And then Doctor Who, but that's just nothing but a time traveling show. So I feel like there's no ramifications of time traveling because we don't stick around long enough to see.
But they do have rules, whereas there are things that
yeah,
I can't think of what the wording is.
Fixed points.
Yeah, there are fixed things in history that you can't change. I kind of wish they went that route a little bit.
Yeah, so I just thought that the time traveling aspect was a little confusing how they explained it. I thought it was kind of an easy way out.
Agreed.
I felt like...
I mean, they basically said, you guys can go back and do whatever you want, and it's not going to change the future. So
because the past is now your future, and your present is now your past. I don't know, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. It kind of did a little bit, but then the thing that really threw it off, which we'll probably discuss a little bit more much later on in detail, was Cap going back in time
and then
staying, but then ending up as old age in
their
present time.
Yeah,
he should have been in a different time. I don't know, it's all confusing.
Yeah.
But, so I don't like time travel. I just thought it was kind of an easy way out. But there is a positive out of that. I did enjoy revisiting some of the old movies.
Mm-hmm.
I liked seeing a different perspective of the Battle of New York.
Yeah, when Tony's peeking around the corner about when they're doing their big pose at the end, and Loki's I'll take that drink now.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same scene, but a different perspective on it.
And then you're kind of seeing what happens after that.
And I really liked seeing. Cause I had always wondered. I was like, if there's I forget what the building's called. The Sanctorium, the Doctor Strange's house.
Yeah,
that he guards.
His house. His
little thing domain.
Yeah.
I was like, if wizards and stuff were there in New York during the Battle of New York, why weren't they helping? And then it showed a different perspective where she was taking down Chitauri's ship,
which was a nice surprise. I wasn't expecting the Ancient One. There was a lot of surprises. I will say I wasn't expecting a lot of the people that came back. I wasn't expecting the Ancient One. I wasn't expecting to see Thor's mom. I mean, I wasn't expecting to see Jane, but I feel like we didn't see Jane because I'm pretty sure that was just footage from Thor: The Dark World that they reused. But I kind of thought that maybe we would see Jane because Natalie Portman was at the red carpet. And I just thought, well, why are you here? I was like, oh, she's being a good sport because she was part of the universe. But, now it kind of makes sense because either she filmed that one close-up that she had.
She might have. I mean, who knows?
It was reused footage. Lots of throwbacks.
Yeah, and getting to see that different perspective of the same, something that we're very familiar with, but then having different views of it, I thought was really cool to see. And then, the Cap fight was just pretty cool.
That was pretty freaking awesome, actually.
I could do this all day.
I know. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I know. He was let's keep going. Let's go. So, I'll just start with some of my likes. It's not really it's kind of more of a question as to how Captain Marvel knew where Tony was. I think we all knew she was going to be the one to save him. So I kind of liked that, and our theater liked it. There was cheers when she came on screen.
It seems like his face lit up orange. I
you pretty much knew. Although there were people that were still surprised when the glow finally comes off and you see your face, and people are like, "Oh!" And I was like,
"Really?
That's."
Did you not watch that?
Yeah, I was like, "That's." It was pretty obvious who that was. They
were some of the boycotters.
So, I did like that she saved him. I would like some background as to how she knew he was out there, because the end credit scene for Captain Marvel wasn't in this movie. So, my opinion is that I think that scene maybe still takes place. It's just not in the movie, so they did know who she was. Maybe, because they said they were scanning this, the galaxies trying to find Thanos, so maybe they found Tony that way, and they were like, you gotta go up there.
Because none of them seemed surprised, when she landed, carrying the ship, none of them were like,
what the?
Who are you?
Yeah.
Everyone was just kind of
and Pepper was there. So I don't know if Pepper's living at the compound, or if they were we're sending somebody up to go get Tony, and so she came there.
She might have been, because I believe, at the end of Civil War, he was saying that, Steve had mentioned that, Tony was living at the mansion now. So it could have been possible that she had moved into the mansion as well. Or maybe she just figured that's where he would be if he was ever going to come back. that'd be the first place he would go.
I don't know. But yeah, so I liked that. Just going from the beginning stuff, I liked. I mean, yeah, again, not time travel. I don't like their explanation for time travel. I just felt like it was an easy out. Like I said, I wish they could have gone the Doctor Who route and been like, these are fixed. The Battle of New York, that's a fixed thing in history. Like, that's not gonna, no matter what you do, like, that's gonna happen. But I did like the time travel bits just because we got to see Peggy, which, I mean, I was like, "Who's Peggy?" And we got to see Howard.
Yeah, that scene was
and
really,
he was talking about
really
Zola. He was trying to find him. So, like, I liked that whole thing. And I was not expecting to see Jarvis from Agent Carter. I thought, like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's Jarvis!" I was like, "Agent Carter is canon." Well, maybe not anymore. So it was nice that they kind of included that, even though they just, did not want to include anything from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but Agent Carter got a little bit in there. So I liked that we kind of got to see, like I said, Thor's mom, and kind of see, like, those older kind of, those people that came back, because Thor's mom actually had kind of a big role. She was in it a lot.
She's the one that kind of, like, snapped Thor out of his little
funk. I'm not pro or against Fat Thor. I thought it was fine.
Well, I liked it because it showed the consequences. It showed.
I showed that he was really dealing with, like, not doing what he thought he was going to do.
That was another aspect.
Going for the head.
That was another aspect that I really liked about this movie. Is that one? It was really more story driven. I feel like than any other Marvel movie has ever been. And then two, like she just mentioned, like it showed all the Avengers in how they handled how they handled losing, and how they handled half the population being gone, and they all handled it kind of differently.
Yeah.
Like Black Widow was trying to keep everything the same and trying to control everything, and like trying to keep
like the Avengers.
She
going,
was like desperate
basically.
for control over every situation now.
Cap was just like, "I'm out, guys."
Yeah, and then Thor obviously was just
depressed and not handling it well.
Yeah, he was just completely like
off the rails.
Yeah, and
then we got Professor Hulk.
Right. Well, which,
I feel like that to me wasn't the greatest.
Yeah,
that's one. I'm okay with that they did the Professor Hulk thing. It's just, I don't know how it is in the comics, but he was kind of an idiot. I mean, he was like still smart, but like also kind of an idiot now. And he was basically there for comic relief. And then
Ronan like went on a completely dark path and was just like murdering people. Whether they're bad people or not, it's like he obviously wasn't handling it very well either, and was just like, I'm just gonna go out and just kill as many bad people who I deem bad as possible.
I'll just do like a quick run of some, like, we don't have to like go into detail. Obviously the Cap on Cap fight, that was awesome. I liked their usage of Captain Marvel. A lot of people thought they were going to, like, she was just going to come in and save the day, and that was going to be it. And, like, that's not what it was. Yeah, like, she was just going to take over the movie, and that's not what it was. And I think they used her an appropriate amount. They kind of explained why she wasn't around, because there's, like, thousands of galaxies that also are, like, need help. So I think they used her an appropriate amount. I liked the reunions. All the reunions that we got. I liked the Lady Avengers. And here's the thing. I don't think that scene was needed, but it was kind of cool to see. Only because when you think back to the original Avengers, like, there was just Black Widow. Like, she was the only woman.
Pepper Potts was still around, but she wasn't
like, yeah. So, like, it was kind of cool to see, like, I was like, oh, I didn't realize there actually are a lot of women in the MCU. So it's kind of cool.
And that scene didn't even include Gamora or Black Widow.
Yeah, Gamora was there.
Oh, was she?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the downside. I wish Black Widow was there, and I wish Hawkeye had died instead. Hawkeye has been just scraping by. He should have died in Age of Ultron, that's my opinion. He didn't, and then he should have died in this one, and he didn't. And I was like, oh my gosh, just kill him already. I would have rather have had Black Widow, but...
That scene. I was wondering about that as they were like, "Oh, we got to get all 6 stones in the past," and then like when they were heading for Vormir, like once it didn't really dawn on me until they'd gotten on the ship, and then Nebula was like, the coordinates is set. Like all they have to do is just hang on to the ship pretty much. And I was like, they're on their way to Vormir. I was like. But there's only one way to get the stone. That's when it kind of hit me, and I was like, "Oh crap! Is one of them about to die?"
That's pretty much what I thought too. I was like, "Oh no!"
Oh man! And
then I kept hoping it was Hawkeye, and it wasn't.
I thought the first time watching it, I did find it a little humorous that they were kind of going back and forth, like
you should do it.
She shocks him, and then she uses the bow and arrow, and then like he's like running, and they like looking at her.
That was like the weirdest thing. He's like, "Oh hey, I'm gonna do this."
I was like laughing at that, and I was like, "Oh, Hawkeye is gonna be the one to die." And then she like grabs them, and like I was like, "Oh my god!"
I was just like, "Okay," like I was perfectly okay with Hawkeye dying, and then when she ran and jumped into, I was just like. No.
So and then after that, it was a sad scene. I didn't want to. I'll say I really like Black Widow. Didn't want to see her die, and I wasn't expecting her to die.
Well, especially since she has a movie that they. But now I'm wondering, were they just like trolling us with the movie just to try to like throw us off the scent? And
now they're gonna be like, "Oh, the movie got shelved."
Yeah, like throw us off the scent and be like, "Well, didn't want you to think that Black Widow was like a for sure person that was gonna live because we're doing a movie."
Because like everybody knows about it, but then like when they ask Kevin Feige's like, "Oh, we haven't announced that."
Well,
yet.
and even
like,
even Scarlett Johansson does that. She's like, "There's a Black Widow movie," and I'm just, so who knows?
So I feel like
if they do, just obviously now if there is one, it's going to be a prequel, or like I think I saw somebody was saying like maybe part of the movie is people going to the Soul Realm to save her, which I'd be okay with also.
But how those stones are destroyed in current timeline?
I don't know. Go back in time; they still got all that stuff.
I feel like if they were going to bring her back, they would have just had Hulk bring her, or Professor Hulk bring her back with the snap. But
so some other, the final hour, that fight, that final
might be one of the best. Well, might be the best fight scene.
Yeah, I think it might.
I'd have to wait for it to age a little bit and then kind of compare it to, because I really like the battle on Titan. And I really like the Civil War airport scene, as well as the Cap versus Winter Soldier and Iron Man. There's a lot. There's a lot
of good ones.
I even like the Shishari attack in the Battle of New York too. So there's a lot of fight sequences that are really well done, but this one, this one is pretty crazy.
Yeah. So we start with the whole, Thor, Cap, Iron Man. Thor, he's got both, because that was another cool moment, which is when he got Mjolnir back.
He's like, I'm still worthy.
I know, he's like, I'm still worthy. And so he gets both. So what I thought was going to happen in that scene when he goes all lightning Thor was that he was going to look like Thor again. And then like all it did was like braid his hair and like put a few pieces up. And I was like, oh, okay. But he was going, double-fisted there with Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. So that was like kind of cool. It was a cool fight sequence through that. And then we got like the ultimate, like I feel like fan service, which was when Mjolnir hits.
No.
When Mjolnir hits Thanos, and then you think it's going to Thor, and then it goes to Cap.
I actually didn't think it was going to Thor. I was like, as soon as that started flying, I was like, oh, Cap is doing
like that. As soon as Cap caught it, like our theater just like exploded, and then you couldn't hear dialogue for like 2 minutes because everybody was like screaming and stuff. That was just like a freaking awesome moment to see and have. And then he was like using it, and he got the shield and Mjolnir going. That was like that whole sequence with him using both of those was like a really cool sequence.
And then the battle proceeds, they're all fighting and whatnot, and then I really liked the drawback to Age of Ultron when Thanos uses his blade. I think, it's rumored that it's like the Infinity Blade. I don't know if that's confirmed by the Russos or not, but anyways, it was a blade that was able to break Cap's shield. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that was a really nice drawback to Tony's nightmare where, Cap was dead and his shield was broken in half. Pretty similarly.
He was pretty much laying in that same way. Like he was laying it down and like you could see the shield like in half next to him. And I was like, well, yeah, that is straight out of Age of Ultron.
And then maybe one of the single greatest moments in the MCU.
When you hear Falcon say, on your left.
Tightens up his shield and he's like facing an army and he's just like, it's just me. And then it's like, on your left, Cap.
Yeah, and then you just see this, the sling ring circles just opening up.
And like Black Panther, I think, was the first
one, and then Falcon flew through, and then Spider-Man came through.
Was coming through,
yeah,
and Guardians,
and then they kind of pan
Doctor
out.
Strange, and
well, it's like they pan out, and then you just see circles like
it's
all
the entire
over
Marvel
the place,
universe
and
is just like marching out, and it's like.
I mean, that was just, and then he said it. He finally said, "Avengers assemble."
Well, like Avengers, and then he grabs the hammer. And
then it would have been funny if somebody like next to him would have been like, "How did you get that? Like, what's going on?"
I know. Tony should have been like. What?
Yeah. Where did that come from, and how are you now worthy? So yeah, like that whole sequence that comes after that was just like freaking epic.
And then like all the fighting, all the chaos, and then all of a sudden Thanos starts, bombing his own, everybody, and everyone's just like, oh crap, we're
done.
all
yeah,
dead.
I mean, I will say it was really cool to see Scarlet Witch kind of get her revenge, even though it's not the same Thanos. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, because that's another dislike of mine, actually. And that's something we didn't really discuss earlier on in the film, was that I did not expect...
him to die
that Thanos to die that quickly. Like, so like Thor cut off his head, I was like, what?
And end of movie.
I thought he was about to, like, fade to red like he did in Infinity War using like the Reality Stone or whatever and be like, haha, like, you guys think you could beat me that easily or something, but yeah, we'll get more to that in a second. But yeah, like that whole...
The ships are like firing down, and then they start firing somewhere else, and Captain Marvel comes in, and the best response was Rocket, who's just like, oh, he's basically the Kool-Aid man, like... her little interaction with Peter Parker, where he's just like, and then, that's when we get the Lady Avengers. So, the scene, with Tony and Thanos at the end, I mean, it's Tony's tech, so I wasn't surprised that he probably only had to, like, touch the gauntlet and have the stones.
It was nanotech, so...
Yeah, so then have the stones, like, come to him.
He's probably like, Friday, like...
I was surprised that once he snapped, that he wasn't just blown into oblivion. Because, like, Thor did it, and, like, when he brought everybody back, and, like, he's, like, all messed up now, like, his whole left arm, Professor Hulk, not Thor.
Thor wanted to, but he was like, you're drunk, you're probably not the best person to do that.
But then he was, like, all messed up, but he's, like, the Hulk, so, like, he could kind of withstand. And I was like, Tony, I know he has, like, a suit on, but I was like, he should have just, the glove with the stones should have been the only thing that was left. Yeah. So I was kind of surprised. I mean, it wouldn't have... I mean, it was
same
emotional reaction because you're getting
Peter
to
Parker
see...
comes over and was like, we won! And he's like, wait, you're dying.
Yeah. So yeah, that scene, was sad, and Pepper. The funeral scene was another even though you could kind of tell that was all filmed separately. That those people were not all standing there together. I mean, which is obvious because they're trying to keep secrets from, they don't want the cast all to know who's where and who's survived and whose funeral they're at. So it's kind of cool to kind of see all the people, all the groups, they were all kind of standing together, except for that one kid who I had to ask at the end. I was like, who was the kid?
Oh, yeah. And I was like, that was the kid from Iron Man 3.
So it's kind of cool, they kind of panned everybody. And then one of my, I'm going to say dislikes is Thor joining the Guardians. I knew it was coming, but I don't know. I prefer them to be the Guardians, and
And like that brings up the question of Gamora is where.
Well, he's searching for her in that very end, in that scene when Thor boards the ship. Like Star-Lord had, and it said Gamora's picture, and it said searching, and so I don't know what happened to her during the fight. Did she get snapped away by Tony? Did she somehow make it back to 2014? Is she on Earth somewhere? I have no idea.
I guess we'll find out in Guardians 3.
Valkyrie being now Queen of Asgard is kind of weird. But, it's like whatever. I do have a question. So they brought all the people back. Was that place, like, not in, like, populated by anybody where the new Asgard is? Because like when they brought people back, were people like, this is our home. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing here?
Then do they not realize that after 5 years, bringing 3 or 4 billion people back all at once, wouldn't it cause like a very similar chaos? Everyone's like, we don't know what to do. Like,
yeah.
Now all of a sudden everybody's back. Like it's not, everyone's not just gonna go back to their houses, fall asleep, and wake up the next morning. And it's gonna be like the next day, like it never happened. It's like there's gonna be as much chaos bringing everybody back as there was everybody disappearing. So now there's going to be another 5-year like adjustment period, which I hope they address in some of the movies. Like so far from obviously they can't really show that in the Spider-Man trailer that we've seen so far. But it's like I hope a lot of these movies address that, and like there's still a lot to figure out because having everybody back 5 years later doesn't solve the problem that it happened in the first place.
Yeah. So one of my dislikes is the 2014 Thanos. So like, I mean, part of me is like, oh, it's fine that, you know, that's what they used, but you miss the emotional like connection. So when Scarlet Witch was like, you know, you took everything from me, and he's like, I don't even know who you are. Like, it kind of lost that.
Yeah,
like,
and it wasn't as like satisfying like when Tony like tricked Thanos. Essentially, like it would have been different if it was the Thanos he had lost to.
Yeah,
and he's like, I beat you. Like,
yeah,
I did it.
So you kind of lost that a little
even
bit.
Thanos was, you know, Scarlet Witch was like, you know, you took everything from me, and he's like, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah. So I mean, so you kind of lost that. So that was one of my dislikes, that they were fighting a past Thanos.
And another thing I disliked about it was that they're still second best to the Thanos from Infinity War because they lost to him. They couldn't beat him when he had the Infinity Stones, whether partially or fully established, whatever the case may be. They lost. And then all we had is a quote-unquote weaker version because he didn't have the stones anymore. They killed like the half-dead one that was on that planet. And then, you know, this one from 2014, I mean, yeah, he's got a big army and everything, which is fine. But like, I feel like they didn't rise to the challenge to overcome Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. Like, they're still, the Avengers are still now, in my opinion, only second best to that Thanos because they were never able to redeem themselves by beating that ultimate power. They just found a way around it, essentially.
Yeah. This is one of my likes. There's no real explanation for how it happens, but I mean,
it's not one that we like.
Yeah, I mean, so this was one of the things that I wanted to see for Cap's ending, was for him to go back to the past and be with Peggy, and then it happened, and I was like, oh my gosh. It doesn't really. I mean, I know how he does it, obviously, you know, time travel, whatever, but it doesn't really make sense that he's still in the same timeline. He shows up old, sitting on a bench at the Avengers compound, and it's like, how are you here?
So if you just ignore that nagging how question, then it's just
really
like,
nice
like, you know, he got to go live his life without internet.
There were some people, that was, you know, after we saw it, I was like, oh, I can read comments again. I was reading comments. There was a lot of people that thought he went back to, like, he just stayed in the 70s and married 70s Peggy. Yeah. And I'm like, she would have been in her 50s. You think 50-year-old Peggy isn't married with kids?
You could take care of that.
But then when we watched it the second time, I was really paying attention. And I'm like, that's clearly he went back to the 40s. You could see the cars going by, like, just the whole, like, aesthetic, like, yeah, was definitely, like, 40s. He went back to, he was probably in the ice. And then he's like, sort of.
And I was like, I wonder if he explained that what happened. Like, he ever told her about his life and was like,
yeah,
you know, we're good because I know what happens in the future and we're all safe.
Yeah. And there is a theory. I don't know if you have anything else you want to touch on before I get into that theory, but
let me see. Actually, it's a theory too. So.
Oh, well, so there's the theory, because in Winter Soldiers, you know, Peggy's married and had kids and, like, all this stuff. So there is the theory, because they don't name check her husband, that Steve is actually that husband that she's talking about. I don't know that that's a correct theory. It kind of seems a little coincidental.
And then I'm like, but what about Winter Soldier when she's older was like,
that's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, and she tells him that, you know, her biggest regret was that he never got to live his life and she got to live hers. But then I'm like, you know, if that's actually like a valid theory, they would just say like, oh, she had dementia,
which,
and like,
you know, she did have dementia, because then she would be like, oh, she kept going like, oh, Steve, it's good to see you.
Sure, she was like, you look a lot younger than you did yesterday.
Well, because, like, if, you know, she's not married to Steve, and that's not what she's talking about, then Steve basically just erased her husband and, like, kids from existence.
And a whole other
and technically in a different timeline, but no, apparently the same one. So that's kind of where, you know, like, I don't know if that theory kind of sticks, because, you know, I mean, it is... I wonder if he'll ever tell her that he like hooked up with her niece. He's like, oh, by the way, this is gonna get awkward.
Like, so did you have any girlfriends in the future? And he's like,
nope. Nope. So yeah, that was a theory that I just was like, I don't know about that.
This is not a theory that I've heard or anything. This is just my own wishing. Is that I would like to see Iron Man's daughter become Ironheart. And like I know in the comic, obviously Ironheart had no relation to Tony. She was a black female. She was like 15 or 16 and like a super smart or whatever, and became Iron Man after Iron Man was in a coma in the comics. It's a big thing. But I would really like to see his daughter become Ironheart, because I feel like, being his daughter, she should be extremely smart. She obviously should know who her dad is and would want to fulfill that legacy and become Ironheart. And then if Gwyneth Paltrow is still interested in playing Pepper Potts, I feel like it'd be an interesting story there, where Pepper would probably not want, if she's like 15, 16, like she would be in the comics or whatever, she could be like, you're too young. There could be that conflict there that she, obviously she never really even wanted Tony to do it, let alone now her daughter.
Yeah.
And I feel like that would just be an interesting story, and I feel like I would be more invested in it, knowing that it'd be his daughter that's taking over that mantle. And I just feel like, that would be an interesting way to go if they ever decided to do it.
I don't see that happening.
I don't either, but that's just what I would like.
But I could see Shuri becoming Ironheart. But I guess Shuri's now going to be in charge of all the tech and getting people like vibranium suits and stuff. There was something else that I was just like, oh yeah. It's another dislike. I'm just going to throw this in there. I don't like how easily Tony creates things and comes up with these things. Like he discovered time travel in like an evening.
Like when they come over, he's like, time travels are ridiculous. We're never going to be able to do that. And like that night, he's like, I figured it out.
I figured out time travel, guys. Like, and he's done that before, when he created the new element in Iron Man 2 and like all. And I was just like, I get he's a genius. But
it's like, but why aren't you figuring these things out on your own time? Like, why do you have to wait for something to happen to be like, I'm gonna figure out time travel? Like,
I mean, so I feel like they kind of rely too heavily on just being like, Tony's a genius, and
now Shuri's gonna take over that.
Yeah, I mean, probably, because she's already kind of called Tony and like Banner out and been like, why did you do it like this?
Now we can be like, well, did you discover time traveling? I don't think so.
Yeah, so that's one of my dislikes, is that he kind of discovers things a little too quickly. Like, I know he's a genius, but come on, let's, they could have at least been like 2 weeks later or something. Or at least kind of alluded that a lot of time had passed.
Yeah, or like even have it where they approached him before the time jump and be like, we can fix this if we can go back in time and get the stones, and have Tony be like, they would have had to have brought out Scott beforehand, before the time jump, and then be like, Tony, like, we could do this if we do time travel, and have him be like, no, like that's stupid, and then be like 5 years later, and then have him be like, I figured it out.
Yeah, it's just a better explanation. But I mean, there wasn't a lot of dislikes for me.
Just the time travel. They could have just figured out another way. They just didn't have time travel. The movie, this probably would be close to being my all-time favorite Marvel movie. Honestly, as of right now, where it stands, I don't think it's going to be my top. I don't think it's going to even pass Infinity War for me. I think I still like Infinity War better. But I mean, this movie was really good. I'll wait it out maybe 6 months, a year before I kind of see where I would position it in my Marvel list, because I'd want to watch it on DVD and stuff at home and kind of dissect it a little bit more before.
Yeah. I mean, it's up there for me for sure.
I mean, definitely top 10, maybe top 5.
My top is Winter Soldier, so it's hard. I'm like, is it going to beat Winter Soldier out? I don't know. I'd have to kind of watch them and kind of compare, but this one did at least have a lot of Cap in it, which was nice because he was hardly in Infinity War. It had, a lot more. Obviously, Ant-Man wasn't in Infinity War, but it had a lot of Ant-Man, which I was kind of surprised. I mean, I knew he was in it, obviously, but
a good amount of Hawkeye.
Yeah, a little too much.
I don't mind Hawkeye.
I don't mind Hawkeye. He's just always just been kind of like meh, like as compared to the other original 6.
I mean, he's probably my least favorite.
I
Out of the
just,
6.
you know, so I mean, I wish they had just killed him in Age of Ultron, which is what I thought they were going to do when they introduced his family. And I was like, oh, and now he's going to die because we know he has a family.
I was never that big of a Quicksilver fan, so I didn't really mind that.
Well, I'm not saying it had to be either or, but I actually did kind of like that Quicksilver. But anyways, I'm sure we'll have even more thoughts as we later in the after we've concluded this video and be like, oh, we should talk about that. We should talk about
Maybe
that.
there'll be a part 2.
Because this one's already been like an hour. So yeah, who knows? We might just start throwing things in the comments and be like, oh yeah, we also did this and like this.
And we hope that you guys bring up some discussion stuff because.
Yeah, what is your guys' thoughts on the movie, time
therapy.
travel?
We need to get this out.
You know, what were your favorite parts? What's something that you just groaned when it happened? Yeah, let us know what you guys thought in the comments. Like, subscribe. Thank you for watching.